Sketchley Cottage, named after a local convict, William Sketchley, was built in the late 19th century and moved to this site by the Raymond Terrace Historical Society. Yesterday's warm weather was perfect for an outside Christmas get-together and the presentation of beach medals. They belonged to Mr. Arthur Taylor, who was awarded a military medal after the battle in France in 1917. Arthur Taylor was the local ferry master at Raymond Terrace during the 30s. And he's the late father of Mr. Roy Taylor,
basically
president
the world
of the
turned.
Port
We
Stephen
found
Shire
that we
Council. Roy's
had
mother,
a history
Mrs.
and a
Laurel
background of
Taylor,
Raymond Terrace.
decided to part with the medals and hand them over to the society to commemorate her son's term as Shire President. The latest acquisition is significant in helping Raymond Terrace historians piece together the region's past and its people.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the
There's never been any justification for it, and we have said in recent times, through most of the last 18 months, that this amalgamation should not proceed in advance of there being an agreement between the university and the college. Now, the government couldn't care less about whether the people in the university or the college agreed about the amalgamation. They're just trying to force it through. Now, what we're going to do in the Senate next week or the week after is to move an amendment to the government's funding legislation to ensure that the university and the college continue to be separately funded in the next couple of years of this triennium.
According to the General Manager of Newcastle, Mr. John Risby, union leaders handled the news well. There's no assurance to be given on Newcastle's future, but this he can say.
I believe that the future of the plant is good. The achievements that we've had in past months indicate to us that Newcastle Steelworks will be around for a long time.
BHP has begun moves to restructure its operations for the future. A major part of this includes reorganisation at the top. As planned, approximately 200 workers will be laid off this month, but some retrenchments have been avoided through the creation of a pool of labour which will be used when needed throughout the industry. Mr. Risby said the company now needed community support, and he had this message for agitators.
I believe there's no place for any group in the community at the moment who are hell-bent on disruption, because that will only result in the city of Newcastle being torn apart.
Curry police are still investigating the accident, which happened 4 kilometres west of Tarot at about 7 o'clock. The driver of the sedan was killed instantly when the vehicle collided with a wide load. Apparently he didn't see the police vehicle that was escorting the load to Bayswater Power Station. The name of the dead man hasn't been released, but police say he was from Curry. The driver of the prime mover and the passenger in the car are both in hospital. Drive with a wide load on John Renshaw Drive, 4 kilometres west of Tarot. Apparently he didn't see the police vehicle that was escorting the load to Bayswater Power Station. Ryan was killed instantly. However, a passenger in the car miraculously survived the accident. 35-year-old Michael Bauer, also of Curry, was taken to Curry Hospital with lacerations. His condition is reported to be satisfactory. The driver of the prime mover is in the Martyr Hospital at Waratah, and his condition is also satisfactory. The blaze, which broke out at about 7:30, burnt out 4 classrooms and a storeroom. Lost in the fire were items belonging to Year 6 students who were in the middle of their final assessments. Police last night located what they believed to be the source of the fire, a burnt-out electrical switch. However, Newcastle Scientific Police are still probing the incident. Today, lessons continued as normal, but not in the rooms. Some of the children arrived at school to be faced with the unpleasant task of sorting through their damaged possessions. The Public Works Department has begun mopping up, and it's expected that the damaged building will be ready for use by the beginning of next year. Meanwhile, the school will be provided with 4 demountable classrooms.
Good evening. Great Britain selectors have made 10 changes to their test side to play Australia in the second test at Central Park, Wigan on Saturday week. It's the biggest upheaval in Great Britain test selection in 20 years and includes the sacking of their skipper Stephen Nash. 5 players will be making their test debut. Fullback Keith Mumby, one of Bradford's stars last Sunday, Wigan's former rugby union centre David Stevenson, Warrington's second rower Bob Eccles, joint leading try scorer with 13, Hull Kingston Rovers' Alan Rathbone, an outstanding player for his club against the Australians. Jeff Gratian will skipper the Great Britain side for the second time, and his deputy is the durable Warrington halfback Ken Kelly, who has finally emerged from behind the shadow of Nash. And Bradford Northern really turned it on against the Aussies in their last match. Former boxer Alan Rathbone, the new test forward for Britain, split the Aussie defence, but was impeded by fullback Greg Brentnell, and Bradford was 2 points to nil after the penalty. Big Australian second rower Rod Reddy is penalised, and after this penalty the Englishmen enjoy a 4-0 lead. Keith Mumby is the goal kicker, the new test fullback. But Australia led 7-4 at the break after this try by Paul McCabe and goals by skipper Steve Rogers. With 10 minutes to go, the Kangaroos got on top with this try by Brentnell off Gene Miles. Miles added one of his own and the Australians won 13-6.
The proposed road backs onto these homes in Thomas Street, Raymond Terrace. A DMR diagram indicates that some properties will have to be resumed. It's planned that the new road will act as a thoroughfare to Richardson Road, the main route to Nelson Bay. But the council says it's only one option, and other alternatives will be canvassed at a meeting of residents soon to be convened by the council. The DMR has given a verbal assurance that work will not proceed until the issue is resolved. The residents say they'll maintain their opposition.
This will not go through. No way. We'll physically stop it if we have to.
On the eve of today's meeting, the Australian Broadcasting Tribunal approved Mr Parry's shareholding in NBN. The acting chairman, Mr Hall, said NBN was hopeful of being granted a translator so that Central Coast viewers would have a better reception of Channel 3 programs. NBN has been trying for 10 years to have a translator on the Central Coast, and at last the government could be ready to make a decision in the next few months. Mr Parry outlined his plans to expand NBN's activities.
We're looking to supply extra services. We've had discussions with the various government people where we've already got a lot of depth of talent at NBN, as you're aware.
Mr Parry, can we be more specific about what sort of services and what sort of areas of expansion we're looking at?
Unfortunately, we can't be. I can get back onto the, as you're aware, particularly in this day and age where you've got to keep a fully informed market and you've got so many new laws coming in. The very law that we've just been through was a brand new law. Nobody quite knew what they were doing. And I really can't disclose some of the more exciting things that we have got being worked on at the moment.
Well, if I could try to bring it down to more specifics, can NBN Television expect more expansion in the area of production?
In the production area, we are definitely looking to get more production in Newcastle. That's a policy that I have personally laid down, and we've already been working at that, and I think we'll achieve it. And in '83, early '83,
Today, workmen were busy putting the finishing touches on the complex. Julestown has been billed by its developers as the ultimate family shopping centre. The complex is dominated by a 930 square metre supermarket, the largest Shuey's food barn in New South Wales. In addition, there is a discount store, 38 specialty shops and 6 professional suites. And for thirsty shoppers, Jules Tavern is conveniently located at the end of the mall. According to the developers, it is the inclusion of a tavern that sets Julestown apart from other modern retail complexes. Developer Mr Graham McCloy.
It's a different development in that we've gone into the residential area again to get near the people so that people don't have to travel for their shopping, and of course with the tavern situation with the centre also, they don't have to travel too far along the highway after they've had a few drinks.
I think Queensland will win. I think they've adapted themselves pretty well to the Greens, but I think that the Newcastle district must be congratulated in giving Queensland the opportunity it has by playing all the games at Charlestown.
Do you see much in the final result between the two states?
No, I don't think, not with 4 rinks like we used to have 5. 4 rinks will naturally cut down the margins. We have some pretty conservative skippers. In fact, Keith Poole, unless he gets a runaway win, he's a very conservative bowler. He believes in winning. He doesn't give much away. He's one of those hungry bowlers, and I believe that Arnold, he's the new skipper in, but I think that he is a very good draw shot player, and I don't think he will be very impetuous either. I think he will go along nice and quietly and just wait for the breaks to come. And that is the main thing in this game. You've got not to be too impetuous, be patient, and then the breaks will come if you keep putting them back there.
Yeah, well, I just walked out the back of the house and hear the motor rev up as though I was in a dive, and then it died down. I sort of thought that he was in some sort of uncontrolled spin. Immediately I tried to pick him up in the sky and I couldn't see him.
But then you saw a wing floating down?
Yeah, that was about, I think the motor is revving up and revving down for about 5 minutes. And I couldn't see anything, and then I seen the wing come out of the clouds. I couldn't see the aircraft itself. Near the water tower.
top season this year. Played represented football, played first grade for West, won the grand final, topped it off with 3 tries in the grand final, which made me Rookie of the Year just about, so got good publicity for Eastern South Sydney clubs to see me.
Were the East Scouts at the grand final day when you scored those 3 tries?
Yeah, East Scouts were there, and they asked me to bring the tape back down. They had a look at the tape, and then they were really impressed with it.
Well, Ronnie, you're going down to a club that's lost a lot of their key players. What's the feeling like with Laurie Fry, the new coach?
I reckon there's a lot of enthusiastic there, players there, so a lot of young players, so it'd be pretty good to go down there and work my way into the team.
Well, it certainly is going to the big time, isn't it? I mean, Newcastle have a big season with the representative games, as you mentioned, your Rookie of the Year competition, but now you're going to the big time, the biggest competition in the world.
Well, that's right, it's the best in the world. Well,
struck 11, its chimes pierced the air. For 2 minutes, the city fell silent. Traffic ground to a halt and work was stopped. Those gathered in Civic Park for the Remembrance Day service observed the traditional silence with bowed heads. About 200 people attended the solemn ceremony organised by the Returned Servicemen's League. The original Armistice Day was a day of celebration. It brought to an end the death and suffering of the Great War. Today it is no longer a celebration, but a day set aside to remember those who didn't return from the battlefields. Show is traditionally the Grand Parade. Today, hundreds of people turn out to see the 1982 ribbon winners do their customary lap of honour around the showground. Organisers say this year's parade was the biggest ever, due to a record number of entries in most sections. The most popular participant was without a doubt the Dungog showgirl Margaret Hayes. However, she was almost upstaged by this massive beast, the Supreme Champion Bull entered by Gordon German of Gloucester. The parade wasn't everyone's idea of an entertaining afternoon, but for those people there were other attractions.
I'm sitting here talking on Talkback Radio. Away we go with another Talkback show. Don't ask me why I do it, cause that's something I don't know. Sitting here talking on Talkback Radio. I know I'll get some.
The award has been presented since 1975, with notable winners in the past such as Mr Eric Lingard, Mr Alec Young, Carrington Slipways and NBN. Today, Professor Cyril Rennick was honoured for his recent stand against pessimism in the Hunter region. He came to Newcastle as an economics lecturer in the 1950s at the then Newcastle University College. In 1956 he founded what has become the largest independent research organisation in Australia, well respected by business and government leaders alike. For 13 years he was chairman of the New South Wales Advisory Committee of the Australian Broadcasting Commission, and during 1973 he was responsible for overseeing the introduction of FM broadcasting in New South Wales. Speaking today as an economist, Professor Rennick described the proposed wage freeze as an old policy that had failed in the past.
Well, at the end of a wage freeze, everybody is determined to make up what they lost, so they put their demands in. But additional to that, going through the period of wage freeze, you make enemies of groups of people and individuals which will never be solved. And this has been found in other economies which have tried it. If it is total, if every wage, profit, price within Australia were frozen for 6 months, then nobody could complain. But that's not going to be the case.
One of the reasons given for this presentation today is the fact that you've been able to inject some confidence into the Hunter Valley. Why do we have any reason to be confident about the future?
Well, we're gaining population faster than any other region in Australia except the Gold Coast, and that's a rather curious population being gained there. We have some $10 billion, $10,000 million of new investment actually underway within this region. We have the largest amount of money ever invested by a government in a region of Australia, currently nearing completion in the infrastructure of Newcastle. We have no unemployment of the skills which are currently in demand for the new technologies and new operations. Our dark spots are that we can't find jobs for ill-equipped school leavers, for women who would like to enter the workforce, and we can't do much about technically archaic labourers and unskilled workers.